Okay, we know that you might be sick of hearing about spooky good deals this Halloween weekend, but we've chosen this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to bring back one of our most popular specials. The Wager Talk Fill Your Cart is back. This Friday, October 29th, Saturday, October 30th, and Sunday, October 31st, you will get a 31% discount on everything you fit into your cart. Whether it's a daily package, a one-day all access, a 3, 7, or 30 package, a full season of college hoops, or a full 12 months from your favorite handicapper, you'll save 31% with coupon Halloween31. You can fill your goodie bag as many times as you want until the clock strikes midnight on Sunday. Finish off October with this ghostly good deal and fill your cart wisely.
Thursday, October the 28th, Wager Talk Today here on Wager Talk TV. I'm your host, Steve Merrill, joined by my co-host, as always, Teddy Covers, back in action after a day off. We'll call it a day off. I'm sure Teddy will fill us in just a moment and what he learned, not just last night, but the night before. Wager Talk Today, though, always a great show. We've got a great one today, Teddy. We've got Dave Cokin, the legend from Las Vegas, joining us here in a few minutes to talk Thursday night football. We've got a big one tonight. Packers and Cardinals, one of the best NFL Thursday night games in recent history. Also got some Friday night football. You're in Dave's UNLV Running Rebels against your Nevada Wolfpack. We've got that Friday night college football preview, and then also a Saturday look at Rutgers, Illinois. So we're covering the next 3 days of football with Dave Cokin here in a moment. Also got the human walking database, the Pin. Ralph Michaels is joining us for a little NFL talk, college football talk as well. He's going to look at Utah State, Hawaii, also Browns and Steelers, his beloved Cleveland Browns. Also some great technical angles as always. In between, we do have a little NBA talk, big game breakdown style with the Bulls and Knicks from you, Teddy. But before we get to what you learned, I want to let all the viewers know what I learned. We've got a great Wager Talk promo code, and we've been doing this the last couple of weeks. You all have taken advantage, and you really should take advantage because these are flash sales basically for this show and this show only. Promo code W49. And what that means is you're going to get the next 3 days of all access from anybody on the show today. And I just named them. It's myself, Steve Merrill, you, Teddy Covers, Dave Cokin, or Ralph Michaels. Any of the four, you can get a special 3-day all access for just $49. Keep in mind, 1 day alone is $39. You're getting 3 days for $49 with W49. And guess what? If you don't want to start on Thursday, if you want to wait till Friday or Saturday, you can make it a 3-day for this weekend, just let customer service know. But once again, you must use it today. W49, 3 days all access for either myself, Steve Merrill, Teddy Covers, Dave Cokin, or Ralph Michaels. W49 gets you 3 days for basically the price of one at WagerTalk.com. That's what I learned, Teddy. What have you learned the last day or so since I last spoke with you?
Well, I had an interesting night on Tuesday. And look, I don't drink. All right, I'm not a drinker. When I want to, get a buzz on, I'll smoke. I usually don't drink. But I had a couple of beers. And then we went out for all-you-can-eat sushi. And, of course, all the guys are in town. Prez is in town. Dan is in town behind the scenes. I'm going to pull him on here in a minute to talk about me puking. But I have a couple of beers. We go out with a bunch of guys, Wager Talk guys, friends. Dave Sherapin was there. Art Caesar was there. And everything's great. Have a nice sushi dinner, all you can eat, chow down, go back over to the Rio afterwards, meet up with the rest of the guys. And I'm sitting at the bar at the Rio, all right? And I'm not going to drink anymore. I'm going to go home and work. I'm going to go say hi, go inside, and go, it's after 10 o'clock. I got stuff to do. And I'm sitting at the bar, and I figured to order a juice. So what juice do you have? And it's not in the gun. All the juice they have are in the gun. I'm like, I don't want juice from the gun. So I'll get a coffee with cream. Right? Is this story getting boring yet? I start drinking the coffee, and I don't know if it was the beers. I don't know. And nobody else got sick from the sushi. But in about 15 seconds, I'm sitting there. I'm fine. I'm laughing with everyone. And in about 15 seconds, I'm like, wait, I don't feel good. And I'm like, 15 seconds, I can't stand. And now it's like I'm sitting at the bar, grabbing a hold of the chair because my legs are wobbly. And I'm sitting on the chair. And in 5 seconds, I know I'm going to puke. All right. And, you're out in a public place, you're going to puke, you got to get to a bar. I wasn't getting to no bar. It went from like 10 seconds from fine to being a nightmare. And so I got to puke. I'm sitting at the bar. All my friends are around you. All right. What are you going to do, Steve? You don't want to projectile vomit over everyone, dude. You don't. All right. You really don't. So I'm like, my buddy sitting there like, give me a cup. And I'm fill up the cup. Give me another cup. 4 cups of just sushi just pouring out of me, dude. Real discreet, real quiet. Get Dan on, all right? Because I want to ask Dan, have you ever seen anyone puke better in a public place than I did on Tuesday night?
I'm so glad that you say it, Teddy. I mean, first things first, awesome meeting you, puking aside. But the thing that stuck with me was how perfect you were hitting the cups. Like, that's not easy to do what you did. Like that was impressive. Your aim was spot on. There wasn't a spot on the bar. I feel for the bartender that had to pick up whatever cups that were left there, but impressive aim by you, Teddy. It was amazing, man.
For a public puking, it doesn't get any better. It doesn't, because you're right. I was controllable. I wasn't like, laying down with my head in the puke and all, it was like I was able, here's a vomit and I got a second to breathe and here's another vomit. So I finished 4 cups of puke and I'm like, we got to go. I turn around, those guys are already leaving without me. Well, we got to get out of here. So I'm like, help me. So we grabbed the cups of puke and I wasn't leaving them for the bartender. I couldn't. I just chucked him, we grabbed him and chucked him in the trash. I threw a $20 bill, and I tipped the guy, sorry, buddy. And I went up to my buddy's room and felt a little better. And then I got up yesterday morning and puked again. I'm like, I'm not doing a show. And I spent the morning on the toilet and blah, blah, blah. So what I learned last night, I learned don't eat bad sushi or don't mix it with the 2 beers that I had, or when you want juice, drink the juice and don't drink the caffeine. It's not like I'm a freshman, when you're going to go out, I don't know how much I can drink, or I don't know, this came, literally 30 seconds from being just fine to just incapacitated. So that's what I learned last night, Steve. I'm glad it's over. I'm feeling better today.
Yeah, and I'm learning that unfortunately I can't make as much fun today here on the show because I was all lined up with, lightweight drinking jokes and all of these things, and it doesn't sound like that's what happened. I was going to ask you actually for that sushi place. I love all you can eat sushi, and now I'm thinking maybe I should get the name of it just not to go there. But it also could have been one bad mussel or one bad piece of fish that you had
Sure.
that nobody else had. So.
Note that it was the sushi place that Marco recommended.
And no, Marco ordered a sandwich while there. Very strange. I don't know. We got to look into that more. But hey, Teddy, I learned last night real quick in the World Series. I think that the Astros are probably in the driver's seat. I wanted to get your thoughts on that because we're not going to talk any baseball here today. Yesterday with Rob Vino filling in for you, I mentioned, obviously they were plus money after down 0-1, but Morton, of course, was going to be out for the rest of the series. I mentioned here on the show yesterday that I like the Astros plus 1.5, minus 135 on an adjusted series price. You're getting them at plus 1.5 games at the same price as before the series started, down only 1, with Morton now out 2 of the next 6 games where he possibly might have pitched. And now that Free took the loss last night, he's going to maybe go 1 more game out of 5, no Morton. Just your thoughts quick on the World Series. Definitely looks like the Astros are probably back in the driver's seat, even though it's 1-1 going back to Atlanta.
Sure, big injury for Atlanta, no question about it. When you're talking about a guy who you were counting on for at least 2 starts in the World Series is now going to be a non-factor. And we don't worry too much about starting pitching in the playoffs. And one of the things I talked about when I did my series preview earlier in the week, talking about why I like the Astros for this series, is that the starting pitching matchups aren't what they are in the regular season, because every game the manager's going to use everything they have at their disposal. But a Charlie Morton's a guy that's going to be difficult to replace. I still think the Astros, not big favorites, but they deserve to be favorites in this series, as they are.
Yeah, we'll bring in Dave Cokin because, Dave, you and I did the baseball show on Tuesday, and the Astros bit us both in Game 1, obviously. But I did mention on that show I liked them in the series as well. Like Teddy said, at minus 140. And, Dave, I'm seeing them now at minus 135 with the series 1-1 and no Morton. What are your thoughts on this going forward?
That I should have bet Houston at plus 150 after Game 1.
Right.
And I didn't. I thought about it, but I didn't. And, oh, well, opportunity missed. Those happen. But that's all right. I actually didn't watch much of last night's game because I'm more focused on the NHL right now, and I wanted to watch the game I was involved in, which was the Maple Leafs Blackhawks game, which I did win. My first best bet of the NHL season. Off to a good start in hockey, 6-3 so far, and that was a good win last night as the Maple Leafs, after puking in the first period and falling down 2-0, thanks for the great lead-in, by the way. And they came back and played well and won the game in overtime. So I'm happy with that. And we'll be watching more football than baseball over the weekend. So I don't know that I'll do much with the World Series. Probably just enjoy the games here and there over the next few days.
Yeah, and of course, today's the travel day. They will be in Atlanta for the next 3 on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Anderson, $1.10 favorite over Garcia for tomorrow night's game on Friday. We'll dig into that probably a little bit more in tomorrow's episode on Wager Talk Today. Dave, let's talk some football. We got a big Thursday nighter here, as I referenced earlier. You know, the Packers get blown out 38-3 to start the season in week 1, which I call semi-preseason week 4. And it just shows why those results sometimes don't correlate, because they've gone a perfect 6-0 straight up, either 5-0 or 6-0 against the spread, depending on that line of that Bengals overtime game. Packers covered that on that Sunday. It went from 3 down to 2. How do you approach this one, though? Obviously, Green Bay is banged up. Teddy did a big game breakdown on this earlier in the week on Tuesday. Receiver core is hit hard, but Rodgers is still there. Line's gone from 3.5 up to 6.5. Do you think that move is warranted? And which way are you looking in this Cardinal-Packer game tonight?
Yeah,
on Thursday?
I do think it's warranted. In addition to being banged up, let's face it. I mean, the Packers won by, 14 last week? That was a lucky win. Green Bay did something last week 4 times that they hadn't done all season. Through the first several weeks of the season, going into last week, their red zone defense was the worst in the NFL. You couldn't get any worse. In fact, opposing teams were 100% in the red zone against the Packers. And last week, 4 red zones for Washington, plus one other trip inside the 25. They got nothing out of them, including one where Heineke probably should have scored and somehow didn't. Cost me because I was on Washington in the game, and it didn't work out. But Packers were very fortunate last week. Arizona basically had a week off. They played Houston, and they didn't show up the first quarter and then just got to work after that. And I think Houston had like 1 first down the entire rest of the game. The market's finally catching up to the Cardinals because this line's pretty high, but it sure hasn't at this point. The team's on a tremendous roll. I think most of us knew the offense was going to be pretty good. The defense has turned out to be a lot better than most thought. They're playing great football on both ends, and this is a proving ground game for them. I'm not going against them. I've gone against them twice. That sure didn't work out. Arizona or pass for me.
So there's been a lot of talk about the injuries for the Packers, but it's not like the Cardinals are coming into this game healthy. Most notably, starting center Rodney Hudson hurt, J.J. Watt, who's been,
he's out for the year.
J.J. Watt, he's been an elite pass rusher, hurt. Isaiah Simmons may not play tonight, and Kyler Murray, too, is a little bit banged up, as is DeAndre Hopkins. Do the Arizona injuries worry you at all, or is this a case where the Green Bay injury situation clearly worse than the Arizona injury situation, which merits the line move that we see?
Every team has injury issues. It's 32 teams in the league, and 32 teams have injury issues. If the guys are playing, then I just dismiss it completely. If they're not playing, that's something else entirely. And those Cardinals guys, outside of Watt, the key guys, they're all playing. Watt, by the way, is going to have surgery, and he's out for the year. That's a big hit because he's been playing well. He's not the best Watt anymore. The best Watt's in Pittsburgh, but he's still a really good player. And they'll have to overcome that loss, both physically and from a leadership standpoint. But look, the team's pushing all the right buttons right now. And it's kind of like in college, maybe there's better ways to go about approaching your wagering than betting against Georgia right now. Because even if you're getting the best of the number, you're getting the worst of it in terms of the monster you're going against. Cardinals are playing the best ball in the NFL. And if you look at the stat comparison between these two teams, I won't say it's overwhelming, but it's pretty big on the Arizona side. They're the better team.
And that's once again tonight's game on Thursday, the 8 o'clock Eastern game, one of the bigger national TV games we've had on Thursday night in quite a while. That's Packers and Cardinals, and Dave thinks the 6.5 is still not high enough with the injuries for Green Bay. That line once again open 3.5. There's a few 6s out there, mostly 6.5s now. So if you do like the Cardinals, I'd recommend grabbing that -6, as we're seeing mostly 6.5s. Be interesting to see where this line settles by kickoff. I know I go through this all the time, but if you like the Cardinals, you should have bet it.
Probably Sunday night. What were you waiting for? You got to anticipate where lines are going to go. And that line, from where it opened to where it is now, there was only one direction it was going to go. That's a huge part of wagering. And I'll quickly touch on the hockey game that I bet last night. I bet that game on Tuesday afternoon. Once the line was widely available, I took the Maple Leafs minus 160. Closed over $2. So to me, I ended up getting a ton of value in the game. Now, if it loses, I still lose. But the fact is, you've got to be able. To me, it's as big a part of handicapping as there is anticipating what the market's going to do with the game. You might not get it right all the time, but if you can fine tune that aspect of your analysis, you'll end up betting at the right time, and not so much at the wrong time after the market's already jumped in and destroyed your side of the bet. So, to me, if you like the Cardinals, it's too late to bet them.
Yeah, and I mean, money management and line value, as I've always said, are two of the three important aspects. Picking the right team is only third, because it's about getting the right number and having money management. And that line has moved quite a bit. Let's transition over to Friday night football. This is another interesting one to talk about, Dave. You're looking at the Nevada UNLV game. It opened 20. Yep. It's sitting at 20.5, and obviously 21 is a very key number. So here again, if you like the UNLV, you might want to wait and try to get a 21 on Friday. It's the late Friday national TV game. But you're going to look at the first half here, and this line actually opened around 10.5, but I'm actually seeing a lot of 11s now, and 11 is somewhat of a key number here. So let me know if you think the first half's a better way to play this one.
Well, let's talk about what UNLV's done this year. We'll throw out the Iowa State game. I think they were down 24-0 at the half in that game. There are other games, up 3 against Eastern Washington, down 4 to Arizona State, up 5 against Fresno, down 7 against Texas San Antonio. They were huge underdogs in that game. Up 3 against Utah State, and up 4 against San Jose State. They're 6-1 against the spread this year in the first half. They're 4-3 straight up in the first half. Coaching adjustments often are a key in football games. Well, Marcus Arroyo still hasn't won a game since he took over as the coach of the Rebels, and they haven't been good after halftime in these games. I think a lot of it's got to do with the coaching. I think he gets out adjusted on a frequent basis, and he certainly, last week against San Jose State, my word, they did something that's really tough to do. They're down 7. They get the ball with a little more than 7 minutes left in the game. They possessed the ball for the entire remainder of the game and ran out of time. How do you do that with more than 7 minutes on the clock? And you got to be smarter than that. It wasn't the worst clock management of the week. That belonged to Steve Adazio at Colorado State, but it was close. So I can't trust UNLV after halftime, but they're going to come out fired up in this game. They're battling like crazy. And this is clearly their biggest game of the year. Even if UNLV had a couple of wins to this point, Reno is always the biggest game of the year. It's an underrated rivalry. There's not much love lost between these two teams. I think UNLV is live in the first half here, and they're catching the Wolfpack out of a crazy game against Fresno. And the Wolfpack beat them easily last year. I think UNLV hangs in for a half in this one.
So here's my question, Dave. You talked about the Rebels' success in the first half of most of their games this season. And when you're going through the list, I'm like, they weren't up for playing UNLV. They weren't up for the game. They weren't up for the game. No one's excited to play UNLV, except for Nevada. When you're talking about rivals, now they're going to get somebody's A game. Does that concern you here? Because nobody else has come out and brought their A game against UNLV. Nobody's come even close.
I don't know if that's quite the case. The cannon's already blue. Look, there's a challenge here for Norville to sell his team and this is going to be, I guarantee the players and the team think it's going to be easy. UNLV has not won a game since this coach took over. They've lost they're 0-13 under Arroyo. They're not good. And he's going to have to find a way to get his team fired up for this, because Wolfpack probably think this is an easy win, and they might be right. But what I've seen out of the Rebels against some teams that are basically as good or better, Well, Iowa State's better, and they get killed in that game. But San Antonio, I mean, if Texas San Antonio's in this league, they're probably still unbeaten, right? I mean, and they gave them all they. I can't sell myself that Reno's going to be real fired up for this. I think their fans think it's an easy win, and they might be right. I mean, if the Wolfpack get out to an early lead in this game, it might be the game where UNLV folds up as 10. But the team has not shown any quit so far. They've just gotten beat in the second halves because they can't execute when it counts. They've been in every game, though, outside of the Iowa State game. They've been in every game this season.
And that once again is the late Friday night game tomorrow and Friday. And Dave likes first half UNLV. Some interesting numbers there, as he said, 6-1 against the spread in the first half versus just 4-3 against the spread in all games this season. I think a lot of times, too, the better teams wear down the weaker teams also. That could be a part of that second half collapse. And UNLV obviously is a weaker team. So plus 11 is out there right now. Some 10.5s plus 11 as that line has risen a bit for UNLV first half Friday night. And Dave, before we let you go, I want to look at one Saturday college football game. Just a quick reminder, this show and this show only, you can get 3 days for basically the price of one, $49 all sports with WT49 for either myself, Teddy, or Dave Cokin, or Ralph Michaels, who will be up next. Any of the four of us, use that code right now and get 3 days and nights, all sports. And if you want to wait for the weekend, if you want to get both Saturday and Sunday NFL included, you can do that. Just let customer service know. WT49 gets you 3 days for $49 all sports from any of us on the show here today on WagerTalk Today. Dave, speaking of Saturday college football, not necessarily one of the more glamorous games in the Big Ten, but an interesting one to talk about from a handicapping perspective. You got Rutgers, who started off 3-0, straight up 4-0 against the spread, and they've lost 4 straight, failed to cover 3 straight. And now Illinois, who's actually won 2 out of 3 after 4 straight losses. You know, they had that upset in Nebraska in week 0. I don't acknowledge week 0, and it's kind of like the preseason, like that Packers-Saints game. But Illinois has won 2 out of 3. Do you think that continues, or does Rutgers get back on track? They're about a 1.5-point road favorite Saturday.
Well, before I talk about that game, I do have to do a little promotion here. NFL has not been good. Last week I went 0-2. Week before I didn't do well. But everything else is rolling right now. College football the last 2 weeks have been huge. And the NHL, as I mentioned, off to a good start. And I don't do the NBA, so we don't have to talk about that. I've got a 5% play on Saturday in college football. 12-2 on college football, 5% plays going back to October of 2019. 17-4 all football in that time span, and 28-10 on all my 5% plays across the board in that time span. I think the setup for this game is outstanding. And if you get that all access thing, you can get the game individually. If you get the all access thing, you're going to get all my stuff because it's all up now. I've got 7 college football games this weekend. One of them is a free play. The other 6 are all, you got to get them in this package, plus whatever I've got in the NHL over the next couple of days. So, take advantage of it. And I really do like this 5% play. That's why it's 5% play. All right, Rutgers in Illinois. This is old school handicapping. You've got Illinois coming off a gigantic upset. It is. I mean, they were a huge underdog against Penn State. And the 9 overtime thing's a little bit goofy because 7 of those overtimes are 1 play each with the new rule they have in college football. So I don't know that it was physically draining. Emotionally draining? Yeah. I mean, I think Ralph's going to do something on teams that coming off upset wins of more than 14 points. Be curious what the numbers are there. Illinois falls into that category. It's also, Illinois is technically alive for a bowl game, but the reality of it is they're 3-5. They'd have to win 3 more games. They've still got to go to Minnesota. They've still got to go to Iowa. It's highly unlikely they're getting to a bowl game. So they might have just won their bowl game on national TV against a huge name opponent. Rutgers comes in 3-4, 4 losses in a row, but they had last week off. So that's a little bit of a break for them from a scheduling standpoint. And they're 3-4, but they actually have a realistic chance to get to 6 wins and get to the postseason if they win this one, because Rutgers still has a couple of very winnable games on their schedule. So if they can get this one, there's a good chance they're going to get to a postseason. So I think there's maybe a little incentive edge for Rutgers. I think the scheduling and situations certainly favor Rutgers. And I think they might actually be the better team anyway. Sitkowski's done now for the season for Illinois. he was supposed to be the backup going in, but the fact is he was the better quarterback this year over Peters, and now it's going to be Peters again. I think Rutgers is going to win this game. It just missed being a play for me. This is definitely on my lean list this week. Had Rutgers stayed the underdog, and I didn't think they would, but had Rutgers stayed the dog, they would have been on my card.
So real quick, Dave, I know we're a little short on time, but I want to ask you about the Rutgers offense, because when I look at Illinois, all right, their defense is pretty good. All right, however you want to phase it out, they didn't hold Penn State to 18 points last week by accident. And every time I watch Rutgers, I look at an offense with a quarterback who can't throw downfield and an offensive line that can't block anyone. You know, they're very limited offensively. They have skill position talent, but QB and OL are not a strength for the Scarlet Knights. So given Illinois' defensive strength and given the concerns that I have about Rutgers offensively, it's a game that, you know, Illinois might be able to steal in a low-scoring scrum.
Yeah, they could. And again, you're not exactly getting the best of it from the odds-making standpoint. So it's more an opinion than anything else. I just think we're at the time of year in college football where you really got to pay attention to the schedule. And it's in the line to some extent, but the fact is you've got a team off a bye week that's desperate for a win, playing a team that's off a win in technically the longest football game ever played in college football, because it was 9 overtimes. And it was a win on the road against the top 20 team. Situationally, that favors Rutgers. So matchup aside, I have a tendency to put more faith in the scheduling dynamics and situational dynamics here, and that's Scarlet Knights.
Once again, that's Dave Cokin. And Dave, once again, let us know about that incredible 5% best bet, 12-2 run the last couple years in college football, 5%. You've got a big card this Saturday, right, at WagerTalk.com.
Yeah, the last 2 weeks, I was struggling in college football, but the last 2 weeks have been really good. I think we picked up like 26 or 27 units the last 2 weeks. So I'm very confident about this game. I love the spot, absolutely love the spot, and I think it's going to be an annihilation. I'll tell you, it's a favorite, but I think they're going to crush this opponent. So we'll find out in a couple of days if I'm right or not.
And once again, that's normally by itself, that's $35. You can get 3 days of every sport Dave has for just $49, and it's W49. I misspoke earlier, guys. I didn't
W49.
W49. They kept it simple. They kept it too simple for me, Dave. It's just W49. That gets 3 days and nights, all sports from any of us. You can mix and match. Use all three of us. It's basically 3 days for the price of one. Why not get all three of us? W49. And you can do that for any 3 days you'd like through this week. And if you want to wait till Saturday or wait till Friday, you can do so and get Dave's NHL, baseball if he has it, and more importantly, college and pro football. WagerTalk.com. W49 gets you 3 days and nights, all sports, for $49. Dave Cokin, thank you. He'll be on college football later, 4 o'clock Eastern, also tomorrow and Friday. And, of course, he and I will be on the baseball show for Game 6, most likely, next Tuesday on MLB First Pitch. Teddy, 20-second break. Pulling you out of the bullpen, my man. You're back in check, and we're going to look at a little NBA. We haven't talked about NBA today. Big game breakdown style, NBA, 20 seconds.
Okay, we know that you might be sick of hearing about spooky good deals this Halloween weekend, but we've chosen this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to bring back one of our most popular specials. The Wager Talk Fill Your Cart is back. This Friday, October 29th, Saturday, October 30th, and Sunday, October 31st, you will get a 31% discount on everything you fit into your cart. Whether it's a daily package, a one-day all access, a 3, 7, or 30 package, a full season of college hoops, or a full 12 months from your favorite handicapper, you'll save 31% with coupon Halloween31. You can fill your goodie bag as many times as you want until the clock strikes midnight on Sunday. Finish off October with this ghostly good deal and fill your cart wisely.
It is time for today's big game breakdown. Let's talk some NBA for Thursday, and that means the Knicks and the Bulls. That's the marquee matchup tonight. Right now, looking at the Wager Talk live odds screen, I'm seeing the Bulls about a 1.5 point road favorite. Sorry, home favorite. Total is sitting in the 215.5, 216 range. And two teams that have both gotten off the hot starts. But I think there's a little bit of a difference between the two hot starts when it comes down to two games, all right? The Bulls have had a relatively easy slate early. They've had Detroit twice, New Orleans, and a game at the shorthanded Raptors, which was not maybe as close as the final score would indicate. They did their best to blow a lead, a double-digit lead in the last couple of minutes of that contest. But Chicago hasn't faced any good teams yet. They really haven't. They haven't faced a playoff team yet. The Knicks had, a 15-game losing streak against the 76ers, and they just snapped that. Comfortable win over Philly. They had a win over Boston in the opener. I know Boston hasn't played great, but at least they've beaten a couple of playoff teams already. And there's something right now about this Knicks team that stands out to me, and that's depth. Chicago is still very much working out their rotation. A lot of new faces for the Bulls. And, of course, at 4-0, I'm not going to say fat and happy, but, this DeMar DeRozan quote stood out to me. It doesn't mean nothing. We got a long way to go. We have a lot more to clean up. It's a long season. It's great. We've got to move on to the next game. We can't carry this record like it's some type of badge of honor. We've got to understand the next game is going to be even harder. It's a good veteran quote, but it's also a quote that makes me think maybe that team is a little bit fat and happy off of that 4-0 start. The Knicks have depth. All right. They have a lot of depth this year. 8 Knicks scored at least 8 points in the win over Philly. Julius Randle, anybody can score and make plays, and that's what this team can do. It's great. I don't have to go get 30 to give us a chance to win. As long as we can defend, we're going to have a shot. And this is one that stood out to me from Doc Rivers after the Knicks beat Philly the other night. Quote, clearly they're a better offensive team because they have more shot makers. They have more playmakers. That's one thing about Kemba and Fournier. They're not just scorers. They're playmakers. The more playmakers you can add to a team, the better. Bulls have played good defense so far, but they also have Zach LaVine figuring out how to play with a small ligament tear in his thumb. That's a concern for Chicago, especially during crunch time here. They had problems in crunch time in Toronto. Those will probably have a couple of problems in crunch time tonight. Give me the Knicks plus the 1.5. And that's the way we'll look for Tuesday night NBA. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you.
Big game breakdown, NBA style. And don't forget, if you guys would like more in-depth NBA analysis, you get it every day here at 4 o'clock Eastern on WagerTalk TV and archived 24/7 every day and night right here on this channel, WagerTalk TV on YouTube. It's a great reason to hit subscribe, even more of a reason to hit that bell icon, Teddy, because you get instant alerts when any video is posted, like your opening line report on Mondays, my college football top 25 video tomorrow, my NFL Fade the Public video for this weekend. The minute it's alerted, if you hit that bell, you get the first ones to watch it and take actionable information, take it to the window. Don't forget to give this a thumbs up as well and leave us some comments below. Let us know who you like this weekend in the NFL, college football. Let us know your thoughts. We read all the comments. I reply back. We love our comments here on Wager Talk TV. Speaking of someone we love, the walking database, the human database, the pen, Ralph Michaels himself. Let's bring him in, wagertalk.com. And once again, that promo code works for Ralph, W49, 3 days and nights of all sports. You can get Teddy. He's got an NFL best bet up. He's got an NBA best bet up. By the way, I'm off to a mere 9-2 start in the NBA. We missed our $2 Tuesday play. We've gone 3-0 in all other NBA plays this week. Of course, still 9-2 on the season. Number 1 ranked in the NBA. Dave Cokin's got that 5% best bet in college football. Why not get all of us 3 days for basically the price of one? W49 for this show and this show only, wagertalk.com. And Ralph Michaels, what do you have going for this weekend or even tonight at wagertalk.com?
Well, guys, I do have a 5% today in the NBA. It's a totals play. And I'll tell you what, I had a 5% totals play in the NBA last night, a winner. I'm off to a 5-1, 83% start in hardwood action. So a great time. Couple bits of housekeeping, guys. Steve, you talked about the special W49 for the 3-day all access. You had talked about letting customer service know if you want the weekend. No need. We improved the back end. Take advantage, sign up right now with W49, and it gives you the option to pick the 3 days. So you do not need to wait until Friday to get Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And when you buy that package now, you will get all the plays loaded for the weekend. So you will get Dave Cokin's. If you want to buy Dave Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, buy it today. Put Friday, Saturday, Sunday in the computer, and you will get all the plays he already has loaded so you can grab the line value as well.
I love it, and that's fantastic. And as Dave talked about, it's important to get these plays sooner than later because the lines do move against us the majority of the time when you're on the right side. So that is awesome info. Once again, W49 gets you 3 days of all sports from any of us on the show today, and you can choose the 3 days you want all the way through the weekend. You can get started now and then wait to get Friday, Saturday, Sunday and get those advanced plays. Dave Cokin, Ralph Michaels, Teddy Covers, or myself, Steve Merrill, W49 gets it done. Ralph, let's get right into it. I love your database, as you know. College football teams off upsets of 14 points or more, 2 touchdowns. That number makes a lot of sense. And the team that they were upset as a 14-plus point favorite. Explain that in a little more detail. I didn't do that justice.
You know what, guys? I love the WagerTalk Today platform. Breaking down games are great. It helps people analyze one game. But I really want to take it a step further and try to help people handicap situations on their own so they have value moving forward. How often do we hear, oh, this team is off a big upset loss. We know they're going to bounce back and have motivation. Well, let's get the honest numbers. Guys, if we could show the chart, we broke the chart down, 2 different charts. The first you see in red in the headlines, teams off a loss as a favorite of 14 or more, and then teams off a win as a dog of 14 or more. So let's look at the top. Do those teams that get upset as a big favorite bounce back strong? Take a look when I broke it down month by month. Of course, I'm going to color code it. Road games the week after on the left, home games the game after on the right. We'll see in September and October those teams that did have an upset loss have bounced back to at least a 55% against the spread mark. But in November, on the road, it's 47%. Look at November home teams off a big upset loss. They've only covered 36%. Guys, I take away from it this. It's November. It's late in the season. You're likely more worn down. You have your main rivals. Weather becomes a factor. So boom, those teams have bounced back early in the year, but when we get to November, not the case.
So, Ralph, this is a 5-weekend October. You know, it's one of those Octobers where you get 5 football weekends. And these games this weekend are still going to be played in October as opposed to in November. Do we shade it towards the November numbers, even though we're still in October, being that we're approaching the end of the season? Do we shade it towards the October numbers because it is October? How do you approach that when you're talking about breaking down the games and the results long-term by month?
Teddy, how about if I do this? That's when handicapping comes into play. You have to make the determination, and it's a great point. Had we looked at, if we did a deeper dive and if the show was 3 hours long and we had a WagerTalk Today 3.0 class, I might go break it down into game numbers. But when you're looking at statistical data, Steve, Teddy, and I certainly know, we can come up with numbers to prove any game on the world, the worst team in the world against the best team, and we could find some trend or angle that can make us bet on a team or at least support that team. So I don't have an answer to that, Teddy. I don't want to pretend I do. It's information that you have to dissect and try to use for yourself. When we do look at the chart again, guys, though, and talk about teams off a win as a dog, I think this one's much more obvious. If we look at the away record, if they could show the chart one more time, after teams pull the upset as a dog, on the road, they're above 500. Look at those teams after they pull the upset, they get it home. 44% in September, 44% in October, 44% in November. Let me think. If I take all 3 months and average them out, I bet it's probably going to be close to 44%. So there we have a very consistent number to talk to you about teams off a big upset win.
So that's one of the games we talked about early in the show was Illinois against Rutgers. And Dave Cokin came on and made the case that this is a spot where Illinois, coming off the win as double-digit underdogs at Penn State, may not be ready for their best effort, especially against a Rutgers team coming off a bye. Your numbers correlate with that. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's so nice to see when we cherry pick a month or take some set of numbers that we try to make a record look better. It's one thing. When we take a blanket set of numbers over 3 different months with different data and they all correlate to the sum, that's one that you want to write down. Yes, 44% isn't something that's going to get you rich, but I'll tell you what, a 44% trend with over 100 games over a 5-year period of time is something that's going to get me a check mark in a team that I'm playing against or this team that I'm looking to fade.
And also, I mean, we call it robustness when when I do a lot of the financial back testing for financial assistance for trading and whatnot. You want it to work over a large sample of wide data. You don't want to just cherry pick the exact sweet spot for one number or one trend. And it's a filter. I use it with the NFL Fade the Public information. It doesn't mean I play on or play against those teams blindly. It's a filter that I'm using in the handicapping process. And then you have a team like Illinois who's not only coming off the big upset, which is a negative, but they played 9 overtimes. That's probably not a positive either. It's just different filters that you start putting in the game, as Dave Cokin was talking about. Ralph, let's attack an actual college football game here. Utah State, Hawaii. Utah State about a 5.5-point favorite. What do you see in this one?
Utah State, one of the darlings of the year. There were 19 new head coaches. Only 2 of them have 5 wins at this point. Anderson, one of them. Auburn the second. But I look at this Hawaii team, and we are talking a brutal schedule this year. At UCLA, back home against Portland State. At Oregon State, back home against San Jose. At New Mexico State, back home against Fresno. At Nevada, back home against New Mexico State. Now at Utah State. Yes, they did have a bye in there, but Chevin Corderio has missed the last 3 games. If they're going to Schrager, he's been a train wreck, especially on the road. I don't care if it's Corderio or Schrager in this game. I look at Utah State. They're a fast-paced team that has confidence. In their first 5 games, they trailed at halftime. They came back to win 4 of them. They finally talked about getting some early momentum. They did that against Colorado State. They led 17-14, then led the entire second half. They know their destiny's in front of them. We're talking about Hawaii in a little bit of altitude with some cooler weather, having to travel again, playing at 9 a.m. local time. The game kicks off 1 o'clock local in Utah, noon Pacific time. So you put that all together, and I'm going to go first half. It's a situation where Utah State up-tempo. Logan Bonner has been banged up. He got crushed against Colorado State, got hit off and got sacked 8 times, but he's practiced all week. He's back healthy. I'm not worried about the Hawaii pass rush on the road against this foe. I'm laying 3.5 with this Utah State. Eye test to me is much better. So to me, it's a Utah State minus 3.5 best bet against Hawaii.
So Utah State is a team that has an offense that can put the biscuit in the basket, but defensively they have issues and have had issues all season. Do you worry at all about laying more than a field goal in the first half with a team that has struggled to get stops this year?
Yes and no, Teddy. You look at Utah State's numbers, and they are very misleading. Yes, they're allowing 466 yards per game and 22, but they're only allowing 22 first downs, and they're only allowing 29 points per game. So they are a bend but don't break defense. Hawaii has struggled in the red zone. They get down there. Their receivers, they've not had that go-to receiver they need. Calvin Turner's their main guy. If you blanket him, you have some issues. The rush attack has been hit or miss. D.D. Hunter's had some nice games, and Parsons done well. But this Utah State has stopped them in the red zone. Hawaii, not a huge big play offense. If you look at the explosive plays on the WagerTalk logs and the stat compare, you'll see that they have not been an explosive team. So in this situation, I am not concerned with the Utah State scoring defense, although they will give up their yards.
It's Ralph Michaels, WagerTalk.com. Once again, W49 gets 3 days all sports from any of us on the show today. Dave Cokin, Ralph Michaels, Teddy Covers, myself, Steve Merrill. 3 days and nights all sports for just $49. W49, WagerTalk.com. And Ralph, before we get you out of here, let's talk a little NFL. And this kind of transitions to something you want to talk about the NFL Thursday nights prior and during and after. We got a huge one tonight, obviously, Cardinals, Packers. But your beloved Cleveland Browns are coming off a Thursday nighter last week and they play the Steelers this Sunday. And that actually is a 3.5-point line. We talked about Utah State, 5.5 for the game, 3.5 for the first half. Cleveland's 3.5 for the game, 2.5 for the first half. So a little bit of variance there. And just general big picture thoughts on the Thursday night angles, how that might apply to the Browns as well.
Well, guys, if we could see the Thursday game on deck chart, and Teddy and Steve, you guys know that so often when we're handicapping games, we look at situations and not look what happens the week before. Last week or a couple weeks ago, we had a what happens when they're on a bye, and people talk about what happens after a bye, and we broke down eye-opening numbers before a bye. Well, take a look at this. This is with a Thursday game on deck. So you are playing in 4 days. These numbers do not include teams that are on a bye and then play Thursday. Take a look at home favorites, guys, since 2015 and since 2010. If you are a home favorite on Sunday and you are playing this upcoming Thursday, you have covered 38.8%. If you've been on the road with a Thursday game on deck, you have covered 69 points as an away favorite, 66% as an away dog. Does the home favorite angle make sense to you guys? It does to me. A team is at home. They know they're playing in 4 days. Do they rest some guys to get them some fewer reps? Do they know that they don't have to keep their foot on the gas because they're playing? So a chart that when we think about Thursday games, so often we have the mentality, oh, we're on a short week, but this breaks down the numbers with that short week on deck.
And of course, next Thursday, it's the Jets versus the Colts. The Colts are home favorites this week against Tennessee. The Jets are home underdog this week against Cincinnati. So using the data from Ralph's chart, home dogs a 50-50 proposition. You wouldn't do anything with the Jets, but you would look to fade Indy this week in that home favorites role, right, Ralph? Am I doing that correctly for next Thursday night?
Yeah, absolutely. The home dogs are a 50-50, and you see since 2015 or since 2020, because you're still trying to win the game. It doesn't matter if you're playing in 1 day, 4 days, or 14 days, there's still that effort to win the game. So, to me, it's a chart that makes sense. It's a chart I never really thought about, and that's the great part of this. It doesn't matter if I've been handicapping 40 years. There's still situations that we may not think about or put into consideration that WagerTalk Today makes me look up and makes us think about and add to our handicapping arsenal.
And by the way, guys, I'll have my NFL Fade the Public video, of course, this weekend. Right now, spoiler alert, it definitely is going to make the cut. The Bengals look like one of the most public plays of the year, and that, of course, would say maybe play on the Jets. So it's an interesting spot, Ralph, that they have that look ahead to the short week, but not as bad for home dogs. Cincinnati, once again, looks very public, and that's a Bengals team, guys. I've had best bets on the last 3 weeks for my clients. I've been pro-Bengals, but the line does look inflated now. Your Cleveland Browns, Ralph Michaels, as we close out, as a team coming off a Thursday nighter. Don't know if you have any numbers one way or the other on how teams play with the mini bye. It's not a full bye, but they do get a couple extra days. Do you think that bodes well for Cleveland, a 3.5-point favorite off the Thursday night game at home against rival Pittsburgh this Sunday?
Well, if you look at who they were missing, it absolutely has to help them because, missing 2 all-pro running backs in Chubbs and Kirby, having a quarterback down, missing your right tackle and your left tackle, missing your wide receivers. I mean, the list, you could almost make an all-pro team from who they missed against Denver, but they won. Well, I'll guess their left tackle, Willis, is back. He had missed 2 games. He did play last week. Conklin, maybe their best offensive lineman, has missed the last 2 games. He's back. We have Chubb back. I don't care if it's Baker Mayfield, who's likely the starter, or the backup. Why? Because the Browns may have the smallest difference from starting quarterback to backup. When we look at situations, remember, Coach Stefanski was at Minnesota. We have a quarterback that knew that Minnesota system. We have a quarterback that grew up with the Stefanski system, that knows how to use the tight ends, that knows how to use the running game and the play action that they do. So whoever's playing quarterback for the Browns it doesn't matter to me. I'm very happy with Case Keenum there. You had the running attack, you had the passing attack, you had the Steelers' rush defense. Rush attack, Steelers averaging 3.7, allowing 4.3. Browns averaging 5.3, allowing 3.5. I am throwing playoff revenge out the window. This is the Browns. This is the Steelers. The Steelers, it seems like, had won 99 straight games before the Browns won the last two. This isn't like, oh my gosh, we don't play this team. The Steelers have playoff revenge and they're going to be thirsty. Cleveland is so thirsty. They're like Ralph needing a Miller Lite after playing 18 holes of golf in 115-degree weather and not drinking anything. So Browns get the win at home. Steelers haven't traveled once in 6 weeks, guys. They played on the road week 1. They've had one road game with 4 home games and a bye. Cleveland Browns get it done, win this game.
As thirsty as Teddy Covers needing a cup of coffee after all you can eat sushi as well. And the Cleveland Browns is his call. Ralph Michaels, WagerTalk.com. Ralph, on the way out, let us know once again the lineup you have. You have another big 5% NBA best bet, a mere 5-1 start this year. You hit one last night. And, of course, you can get that tonight and a full 3 days nights with W49 for any of us today with that special promo code. Ralph, what else can people find at WagerTalk.com? Where else can they get some of this great research as well?
Well, guys, I have to mention the log, both college football logs and NFL logs. They both continue to improve. I put plays per game and plays per minute in the college football stat compare. I started to do the NFL stat compare in rotation order. There's first quarter and first half logs. Dave Cokin talked about the Fremont Cannon. UNLV, I have them as 5-0-1 ATS in the first quarter. The Wolfpack, 0-6 first quarter. Those logs available, WagerTalk.com, Ralph Michaels page, or WT.buzz/RM.
And once again, Dave liked the first half with UNLV. So once again, that's why you use all these different angles. You filter them all together. It's like a soup, and you figure out which best bets you want to come up with. And Ralph's got some great data at WagerTalk.com. Once again, a strong 5% NBA best bet going, tons of college and pro football this weekend. Ralph, always great to see you, my man. We will catch up soon. And Teddy, it was great to see you today here back on Wager Talk Today. We'll do this again tomorrow on Friday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, assuming you do not go out for all you can eat sushi and coffee afterwards again tonight, which I don't think you will. We will be back tomorrow at noon. Once again, last chance, W49. Very simple, 3 days and nights, all sports from anybody that was on the show today. Myself, Steve Merrill. I'm off to a 9-2, number 1 ranked NBA start at WagerTalk.com. Dave Cokin, 5% college football best bet this week, and get it now. Ralph Michaels, 5% NBA best bet tonight. And Teddy, I'll throw it to you on the way out. Why should somebody get you for 3 days and nights for 49 W49 as well?
Because we're going to win this weekend. Locked and loaded with NBA and NFL for this evening. Of course, the full weekend card, as always, will be posted by Friday morning. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to hang out with Steve and I and our guests. We'll do it again tomorrow, as he said, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon for you back east. Between now and then, enjoy the games and good luck tonight.
Okay, we know that you might be sick of hearing about spooky good deals this Halloween weekend, but we've chosen this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to bring back one of our most popular specials. The Wager Talk Fill Your Cart is back. This Friday, October 29th, Saturday, October 30th, and Sunday, October 31st, you will get a 31% discount on everything you fit into your cart. Whether it's a daily package, a one-day all access, a 3, 7, or 30 package, a full season of college hoops, or a full 12 months from your favorite handicapper, you will save 31% with coupon Halloween31. You can fill your goodie bag as many times as you want until the clock strikes midnight on Sunday. Finish off October with this ghostly good deal and fill your cart wisely.